And welcome back. As we continue working with binary files, let's go ahead and switch to talk about how we can check for the end of a binary file. The first thing we can talk about is we can use the end of file exception here. All of the object input stream methods that read from a binary file will throw an end of file exception when they try to read beyond the end of the file. And because we throw that exception, our code can therefore test for the end of that binary file by catching that exception. The reading of the file is then placed in an infinite loop using true as the Boolean expression in the while loop. Now, the thing to note is that the loop is not truly infinite here, because when you reach the end of the file, the exception is thrown, and that ends the entire try block and passes control over to the catch block. So as we end that loop, if our program is reading from a binary file using any of the methods listed in the class object input stream, and your program attempts to read beyond the end of the file, of course, we're going to get a end of file exception. This, as we kind of have already said, can be used to end a loop that reads in all data within that file. The class end of file exception is, of course, a derived class of the class IO exception, and so therefore every exception of type end of file is also of IO. One last little pitfall to mention is ending the file in a different manner. There are different file reading methods to check for the end of a file in different ways. If you test for the end of a file in the wrong way, one of two things will probably happen. Either your program's going to either go in an unintended infinite loop, or it's going to end up terminating abnormally. For the classes that we've discussed, the following rules apply. If your program is reading from a binary file, then an end of file exception will be thrown when the reading goes beyond the end of the file, so you can rely on that. If your program is reading from a text file, however, then no end of file exception will be thrown when reading goes beyond the end of the file. And we've talked about, of course, how to handle this. There are, of course, different approaches for us to do that. And now over here in Eclipse, we can see we have a quick end of file demo. We, of course, are bringing in our numbers.dat again, and you can see our try block here is nested inside of this try block because, of course, we have the first try with this input stream. But here's this try block that's going to handle the end of file, and so we just say while true. And once it is no longer true, it's going to fall right into this catch statement here and simply say no more numbers in the file. And of course, if we had any issues, those will be caught here with the file not found or the IO exception. So let's give it a run. And it says reading numbers in numbers.dat. We got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we get no more numbers in the file. Because if you remember the original file, it ran a loop and just outputted 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this, of course, is those numbers that exist within the file.